Hi, my name's Gary Hallam, and today I wanted to just show you how to do a file masking or perform some file masking with Delphix. I was working on a customer recently, and they were talking about having masked their test database. How would they be able to find specific records? And I've heard this a lot around customers where, it's great to actually do the masking, but actually they need that ability to find a specific record. And they talked about sort of dynamic masking. They talked about being able to unmask the data or reverse the masking. Well, the value of Delphix is that we provide irreversible masking, and obviously if you reverse masking, you're creating some kind of a security risk. But there's a real business need to actually identify some records. So I thought about this for a while, and one of the ways that you can actually do that is by using Delphix's file masking capability, taking a real value and then masking it, and then taking that masked value to look up records in the masked database. So that's the kind of use case that I was looking at. So let's first of all look at how we might do that file masking. Okay, so let's log on to the Delphix masking engine. And now we need to, first of all, before we do anything, we need to create an application. So let's call the application file masking app. Save that there. That's just really a container. It's an arbitrary value. So when we add an environment, we have to add the application for that environment. We give it a name, so file masking environment, let's call it, and we're going to mask and not tokenize. So let's save and view that environment. Now, the first thing we need to do in order to mask something, we have to be able to connect to it. So let's create a connection. Now with Delphix, let's choose a delimited file, and we need a connection mode. So we can use a file system mount point, SFTP or FTP. I'm running on a Mac, so let's use SFTP. We'll call it file mask con. The path will be in my users, put it in a shared directory, and then give it a name. So let me just go into my file system and let's call it in place. Okay. So let's go there, shared, so it's the mask demo, and then in place. And then the username will be me because it's on my laptop. Server name is 172. No, it's not. It's 192.60. I think that's right. And on port 22. So let's test that connection. Okay, so we're now connected to an SFTP location. So let's save that. So once we've got a connection to where the data resides, we then need to build a rule set. Okay, so let's create a rule set, and this is now going to be a file rule set. I need to choose the connection, and that will connect onto that environment, and it will give me a list of things that we can potentially mask, right? So let's just select that comma delimited file that I've already got out there in that location, and let's give this the credit card, and name rule set. Okay, so I've selected the file that we're going to mask, and let's save that as a rule set. One of the other things we need to do is to create a file format for that rule set, because it could be delimited file, it could be anything, right? So let's just define a file format. So we go into settings, go into file formats, and we could create a file format, or we could import a file format from an existing delimited file. We'll import the fields. That is this file here. It's just a list of fields. So let's open that up and save that. So I'll just show you what that file looks like. It's simply this file here. It just shows that we've got a credit card, a first name and a last name, and that mirrors this record that we're going to mask, okay, which is, if we delete that, there is a credit card, a first name and a last name. So let's get back out of there. Right, okay, so back to our admin tool. So we've created a file format there. So then when we go back to our environment, which has the rule set in place, we've created a rule set, but we just need to go in there and edit the file or pattern, and we want to use that format that we've got. So that just describes the file that we have, and we'll say that it's line feed terminated on each of the records that are going to be in that file, and our delimiter is a comma. So there we go, job. Now that file format has defined where the naming of the files will be, and then we can go in and edit that, and we can choose to add a masking algorithm to each of those values. We've also got a profiler tool, but I'm going to just do this manually. We're just showing how to mask a file. So if we go into here, we can choose credit card algorithm, and then I'm going to use this segmented mapping algorithm. This is a custom algorithm that is deterministic. Every single algorithm in Delphix is deterministic except one, which is the inbuilt credit card algorithm, and that's because of security reasons, right? We've got a proper algorithm that changes every time we do it, but generally speaking, all of our algorithms are deterministic. That means we mask the same thing in the same way every time. So let's save that. So we're going to mask that field with a credit card algorithm. We're going to go into the first name field, and we shall mask that with our first name secure lookup. And in the last name field, we'll try and use our last name secure lookup. So, okay, so I'm going to mask each of the comma delimited values in that file. Okay, so the whole file is going to be masked in this instance. Right, okay, so looks like we've done the work. All we have to do now is create the masking job. So I can create a profile job, and profile will examine the file and look for sensitive values, but in this case, we know what we're going to mask. It's fairly simple. Let's mask it. Okay, so this will be CC and name masking job. And we're going to do in-place masking. So we're going to take that file and amend the values inside the file. So the file is masked. I can choose multi-tenant or not. This means I can connect to different environments, different connection. You put different connections in to connect to different FTP locations. We'll do that to show that happening. We're going to run that rule set, and there's no more elements that I need to fill in on this job. I've created a masking job. And now, quite simply, that job should run. So let's go back into our file system, and we'll just revisit that file. And I've got just one record in there. I mean, I could put multiple records in there, and we'd mask multiple records. Let's go back and run that job. Press this button here. We select the environment, so it's our file masking environment. We've only got one environment, we've only got one connection, so that's easy. Let's run it. And so in theory, that will go into that file and mask the file. And it will mask that file in the same way that using the same algorithms that we mask any database with, or any source for that matter. So that's succeeded. Let's go back into the file and see what it's done. So application, you can see that those file names have changed, and I'm now called Mackenzie Affleck, which is rather interesting. Anyway, there you go. That's that file masked. Now, we could take another approach to this masking, and if you think about what we've done now, we've kind of blown a hole in our security, because I've masked a database in one way, and now I have a real credit card number, and I've now created a way in which to convert from the real number to the masked value, and we probably want to put a little bit more security around that. So one of the things that we can do, we can separate the duties between the person that has the real number and the person that needs the masked number in order to look up those values, those masked values in the database. So what Delphix can do, it can have it can actually mask on the fly, which means it can take a value out of one file and copy that value into a separate file.